Hello, and welcome back to the Padawan podcast, Apocalypse Movies, all Star Wars podcast, where we geek out on everything from the galaxy far, far away. I'm your host, Jake Berlin, aka Qui-Gon Jake, and I am joined today by my fellow table member, fellow Padawan, Jacob Bartley, aka Grandma Bartley. How's it going, man?
It's going really well, man. I'm excited to talk Star Wars as always. Star Wars Rebels Season 3 starts tomorrow night. I was just telling you, I gotta find a way to watch it. No cable.
We'll get into some Rebels a little bit later on in the show. We got 4 movie news topics to talk about. Episode 8, Rogue One, little Han Solo as well. So kicking off the show, we got some comments from Adam Driver. While doing press for his latest film, Patterson, Driver was interviewed by Steve Frosty Weintraub of Collider, and naturally, because it's Star Wars, Weintraub took the time to ask about Star Wars Episode 8 and Rian Johnson. Driver praised Rian Johnson, his script, and everything new he's learned about his character from Episode 8, as well as commenting on the script itself, saying, "It's great, it's similar to how The Empire Strikes Back has a different tone. For that, people always go, ooh, it's dark, but I don't know that it necessarily is. It's just different in tone in a way that I think it's great and necessary, but also very clear. He trusts that his audience is ready for nuance and ambiguity. He's not dumbing anything down for someone, and that's really fun to play." So, you and Gio talked about this last week on Movie News in one of our Take One Leave It portion of the show. So we weren't able to spend a whole lot of time on it, so I want to kind of dig into it a little bit more. But for me, I really like the nuance and ambiguity section of this comment, kind of because that's not necessarily darker. And we've kind of expected, because it is the second movie in this trilogy, that it's going to be darker and something very similar to Empire Strikes Back. And because it's Rian Johnson, that's kind of what he does, but nuance and ambiguity kind of brings a different feel and vibe to the film compared to something like Looper, what he's done in Brick especially, as far as Johnson's work goes. But I also like the fact that he said he's able to learn new things about his character. He's digging deeper and learning new depths of Kylo Ren and where he can go and who he is and whatnot, and that's something very, it's very good to hear in general. So, Jacob, you hear these comments, you checked them out, and from everything you know about episode 8 so far, what do you think about them?
Yeah, I like these comments. They're not your typical actor praising the film comments. You know, he actually gives a little detail about what we can expect, and the film's going to be dark.
Yes.
We know this. We've seen Rian Johnson's films, Brick, Looper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's going to be dark, but that's fine. The Force Awakens has some dark moments. It definitely does, but overall, it was a lighter toned film. But the thing that stands out to me is he says that he's not dumbing anything down for anyone, and he's going to bring ambiguity and nuance. So I'm thinking, if you watch The Force Awakens, it's very simple and straightforward. It tells you what the Force is, and the way the story goes along, there's no really tricks or anything.
In other words, it's
very direct.
Yes.
But I feel, for lack of a better way of explaining it's dumbed down. But I don't want to,
it's still
feel
very
like
complex.
I'm disrespecting
There are
The
complex
Force Awakens.
things in that
like
film.
It's not made for idiots. It's just. But for lack of a better way of explaining it, it's dumbed down. I like that. Fact that now they've simplified things for the new audience, the new generation, and you got that first movie out of the way. Now you can get more complex with Episode 8. And when you're looking at a director like Rian Johnson, I kind of compare the way his movies have themes, and they're kind of thinking man movies, and they remind me some sort of like Christopher Nolan movies, or like even like David Fincher movies. I think while Rian Johnson is his own director, I think he has a little bit of Nolan, a little bit of David Fincher in his style and his tone and the way his stories are complex. So I think we're gonna get a Star Wars movie where you got to think a little bit to understand what's going on, and you're not gonna necessarily know what's going on. And I feel like the bad guys are gonna come out on top on this one, just like Empire Strikes Back. Not that they're copying it at all, but
that's just the way the film goes.
You can't just have the good guys keep winning and being successful over and over again, like it just in any story, whether it's TV or movies or anything. So I really like these comments because it's not just, Rian Johnson's a great director, he wrote a great script. There's a lot of depth to them, so it really stands out to me.
Yeah, I think that this kind of praises the idea and work that Disney and Lucasfilm, when they first decided to bring a different director on each of the films and not keep one for all 3 movies. They went to JJ, now Ryan, and they're going to Colin Trevorrow for the 3rd movie. it brings something different. And for people who work on all three movies or the actors, it's something new each time. They're not just settling in and shoehorning in a performance or something. They're going to different levels, like Adam Driver's talking about characters and story and everything like that. So I think it's a good decision. I think it's awesome to hear. We'll definitely know how dark it goes when we hear a title, whenever that's released.
Very true. That's the title's gonna tell us a lot.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll know that soon. I mean, Rogue One's coming up quick, so maybe we'll know by then. But yeah, we'll see. So moving on from episode 8 and getting to a little Rogue One news. Bob Iger, CEO of Disney, who's all up in Lucasfilm and Star Wars, obviously, did a pretty in-depth interview with Variety this past week. And he, on top of a couple things as far as Star Wars goes, he talked about the Rogue One box office, and they talk about, you know, whether or not it's going to compare to The Force Awakens or whether or not they're expecting it to. While talking with Variety, he said, "We never felt it would do the level The Force Awakens did. But based on the response to the trailers and posters and other marketing, the level of interest in Rogue One is as high as The Force Awakens." So, Jacob, you hear the comments. Looking at the Rogue One marketing and the footage we've seen compared to The Force Awakens just a year ago, first of all, do you like the comments? And second of all, are they accurate?
Yeah, it's not a knock on Rogue One to say that it's not going to perform box office wise like The Force Awakens did. The Force Awakens is the third highest grossing film of all time.
2.1 billion
2.1
globally.
billion.
Yeah.
If Rogue One's going to, I think Rogue One will crack $1 billion.
Definitely. I think
slightly
so
over $1 billion,
I think
and
so
that's fine. It's not Star Wars Episode 8. You know, there's no. I mean, you do have Darth Vader in there, but he's not going to be in the movie that much, so that limits how much marketing, including Darth Vader, you can put out. So while Darth Vader is going to get more butts in the seats, it's not going to drastically raise it by $1 billion. You know, I think if Rogue One hits $1 billion, and I think it's going to be, it could critically be better than The Force Awakens. I mean, even though Rotten Tomatoes is not the end all be all, so just because Rotten Tomatoes has it at like 90%.
But if we're going off Rotten Tomatoes as a basis,
what is it on Rotten Tomatoes, The Force Awakens?
I think it's
97 or something like that?
No, I think it's like a 93. 93
okay, so
there. I'll look.
It could potentially be higher than that, but I'm just referring to the general buzz of what, you know,
the audience,
including Rotten Tomatoes,
yes,
including just what YouTubers are saying, what real critics are saying, what the critics in the newspapers are saying. Just the combined critical response could be higher
the word of
than
mouth.
The Force Awakens. And I have this feeling where The Force Awakens was praised heavily when it came out, and as time went by, critics started saying, "Oh, it's not that good."
I remember it's Slash Film. They posted a picture on their Twitter. It was at 100% at one point, and now it's at 90. It's solid at 92.
Okay, so more people saw it, and it brought the score down. But I just noticed as time went on, a lot of people were, and critics and fans, like, "Oh, The Force Awakens is not that good." I think it's just as good as the first time I saw it. Maybe even better.
I agree.
Because with watching the film, I've noticed things that I didn't notice the first couple times that made the film better overall. But that aside, I think Rogue One should not be trying to live up to, or just Disney and Lucasfilm should not expect Rogue One to hit 2.1 billion. They should expect it to do well, make them plenty of profit, and then I would be more concerned with, you know, can we make this a great film? And I think that's what they are. But
I agree.
So yeah, this is kind of pointless in a way. Like, I don't know how this came up and why Bob Iger addressed it, but it's kind of like a no-brainer. Like, no duh, The Force Awakens isn't going to hit, you know, 2.1 billion.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you hit it right on the head. I think that they're more worried about this film being a better film over what it's going to make. I mean, you make the first ever spin-off movie in a universe on a story that hasn't, as far as theaters go, hasn't been touched on since the 70s.
Yeah.
Like, the first time we heard about the Death Star plans were in the 70s in the original movies. So a lot of, there's 2 or 3 generations from then that don't know what the story is, so they're not going to understand what's going on. And I think that Bob Iger hits it on the head, that they're not expecting it, nor do they think it will. But that there is a chance because the response to the movie has been well so far as trailers and posters and everything go online. But I think that you hit it right on the head, that I think that they're more focused on it being a better film than critically. And like you said, this movie could end up being critically better just because it is so different.
Yeah, it's going to do well at the box office, but the thing is, unless it's like best of all time numbers, nobody remembers what films make.
Yeah.
People will remember this film for how good it is. So that's the most important part, you know?
Definitely. All right, well, staying within the same interview, while Bob Iger was being interviewed by Variety and talking about a whole bunch of different things, the topic of Star Wars future was brought up. And we know that Episode 9 right now is the last scheduled Star Wars movie in 2019, but of course, being Star Wars, they probably have plans for beyond that. And Bob Iger announced that they do have a writer for a 2020 Star Wars anthology film, which we expect is the ex-Boba Fett anthology film that...
it's the spot...
Fantastic Four's director Josh Trank.
So
he was supposed to direct.
We're suspecting that whatever the new movie is now is taking over this
that spot,
which
yes.
used to belong to
the
Boba Fett film. Yeah.
No writer was announced, but they said that they have a writer working on the script right now. They're expected to have a 2020 release date. They also said that the films will hit theaters over the next 4 years. Bob Iger signaled to investors at a Goldman Sachs conference on Wednesday that Disney is looking beyond that date for ways to exploit the Jedi Knights and space adventures that populate the fantasy film series. So obviously they're going to have movies looking forward to 2021, 22, 23, and beyond. It's the biggest franchise in movie history. It'll probably be the biggest franchise in movie history by that time. So whether or not that's episode 10, 11, 12, more anthology films, it looks like the Star Wars future is very bright. Jacob, you hear this, you see this, kind of obvious, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Star Wars is going to go on forever. And
I agree.
They even came out and said like a year ago, it's the forever franchise.
There's one film every year, yeah.
And while that might seem like a lot, bring it on. I'm so excited. But
well, just think about all the stories you could tell.
Yeah. So obviously, if they have a film coming out that soon, which is not too far away, we're almost hitting 2017.
It's almost 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but yeah, we'll say 4 years because it's probably not going to come out till. So let's say 4 years. Obviously they have at least an idea of who they want to hire for a writer or have a writer. So if they have a writer, they know what movie it is. Mm-hmm. So there's no doubt. You don't hire on a writer and say, "Look, we're thinking about these 3 different films. We're going to put you on one of them." No, you hire a writer for a specific film, so they know what it is. And I'm assuming it's the Obi-Wan movie.
I was just going to ask you.
Is it going to be?
I was just going to ask you.
There's no way it's anything else unless they're going to do like.
Choice.
Unless they're going to do like a Knights of the Republic, but I think you save Knights of the Republic for
a Netflix series.
No, I'm cool with a movie.
Yeah,
but
I just don't want it to be a one-off.
No, not at all. No, here's the thing. Here's what and this is kind of off subject, but I'm saying I don't think they're going to do episode 8, 9, and then
10, 11, 12.
2 years later, 10, 11, 12. I don't think it's going to go like that. I think it's going to go this trilogy, and then we're going to have like a 5-year break from the saga films, and on that, or like a 6-year break. Mm-hmm. In the middle of those saga films, do another trilogy, which could be a Knights of the Old Republic trilogy, because you don't want to wear out the saga films. Yeah. Let Daisy Ridley and whoever survives the original trilogy age up a little bit, and you could tell a new story when you pick up from episode 10. So, and maybe Obi-Wan is that trilogy, and which I can't think of anything else that they would go after right now that would make sense. Like.
He's what people want the most.
I don't think a Boba Fett movie would work.
No, I
don't
agree.
think a Yoda movie would work. He makes the most sense for sure, other than a Han Solo film, which also makes sense. Maybe a Knights of Ren movie, or a Luke. What Luke was? They've been talking about potentially going back to what Luke did after Return of the Jedi,
Jedi Academy thing,
and how they were like speculating Sebastian Stan could play Luke Skywalker. Yeah. Do you know how much time there is in between there?
30 years.
If they're going to make a Star Wars movie every year until the end of time...
Do 1 year in between episodes.
By the time it's all said and done, we're going to have every year in the whole entire galaxy covered. So they can do anything. But I think the one that makes the most sense, you have Ewan McGregor, the ripe age right now, is Obi-Wan. And they know who it is if they have a writer. So, we really can't speculate on this much because we don't know who the writer is. So,
yeah, I think, actually... I got home from my softball game last night and turned on TV. Revenge of the Sith was on TNT.
Nice.
Watched it, and
of course you probably have it. You could go put it on.
But I watched it. It's funny that we talk about this today because the final moment of this movie is you see Obi-Wan walking away, handing off Luke. And it's like, that's what people want to see. They want to see where he went and what he does. Because the next time we see him, he pops up behind some giant-ass rock in A New Hope going after Luke again. It's like...
comes out of nowhere and makes some weird noise.
There's 15 years or however long, 16, 17 years in that gap, you can do so much.
Wow.
I think a Knights of the Old Republic movie would be really cool, obviously. I think something Knights of Ren would be awesome. I think that maybe after Luke passes or the torch is passed somehow in these new saga films, then maybe you go back and do a Luke movie once Mark Hamill's officially done with the character.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Harrison Ford's doing.
It makes sense.
But I do like Sebastian Stan. Like, that picture is freaky. It's scary. Have you seen that picture of him as Luke?
Yeah. Dude, it looks just like him.
It's scary.
I also would like to see, if you're going to do a Luke movie, maybe it's similar to like the time era of like Bloodlines, the novel, where you can have the young Leia in there and what she's doing politically. It can be kind of like a political thriller / adventure film with Luke. I think you could really do, because now Leia becomes this political figure and this strong female leader, and I would love to see that. I don't think you can make a Leia movie.
No.
But if you throw it in with the Luke movie or Han Solo movie, who knows? It can work.
I think it fit best with, I don't know, because it seems like Luke after Return of the Jedi kind of just went off on his
separated.
own.
So maybe like, who knows where they're going with the Han Solo trilogy.
Yeah, within the Han Solo,
Maybe that would make a lot of sense, because he spent a lot of time, he was with her until they split up, later, after Kylo Ren was already an adult. So I think that would make more sense. Yeah. Incorporate her into not the first one, because this is before
second,
he met her.
third, fourth, wherever it is.
Second, third, or fourth, wherever the time era is. But I'm excited. Obviously, I'm excited for possibility of all
I think after Episode 8, after we learn a lot more of this Luke, then we can maybe speculate.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They can tell this story.
We have no idea, other than the little tidbits from the Force Awakens and the other.
If hypothetically, let's say Rey is in fact his daughter. How did that happen? Like, that kind of story.
Who's his love interest?
Yeah,
exactly.
And there's all kinds of stories that will pop up after Episode 8. So, all right. Well, moving on from a little Star Wars Beyond, we're going to move on to the Han Solo anthology film. And Rogue One is obviously the main focus of Lucasfilm right now as far as marketing. But behind the scenes, they're working on the young Han Solo movie with Alden Ehrenreich and directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And now the movie has an official cinematographer. And his name is Bradford Young. He's worked on a number of big films for Ava DuVernay, worked on Selma, A Most Violent Year, Danny Villeneuve, Arrival. And so this guy is a big name in Hollywood right now as far as cinematography goes. And Star Wars is known for visuals and scope and scale. And so I think that someone like Bradford Young, bringing him on board to do a Han Solo movie is really, really cool, because the films that he has worked on have kind of a darker tone and feel to them. And if you think about Han Solo, like with all the tricks and laugh that he does work in the underworld of Star Wars. He's a smuggler. So it would fit his style of movie. That's my personal take on it anyway. I think that, whether or not we see him before he gets the Millennium Falcon or during the Millennium Falcon, there's going to be bounty hunters involved. There's going to be smugglers and scum and all people from across the universe involved. And I think that someone with his style definitely fits, kind of like a Roger Deakins would.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's a great grab for the Han Solo movie, and it just, again, Star Wars is going to be a beautifully looking film. So
so we haven't seen Arrival, but from the way the trailers look, it looks like it's going to be amazing.
And the word at a TIFF is freaking phenomenal.
Well, this is the type of film where the cinematography is going to be huge.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard because I've seen Selma, and while it's a great movie, the cinematography isn't necessarily the thing that stands out to me in that film. Arrival is a real test. So if we see Arrival and it's like one of the most beautiful films we've ever seen, then we're going to be like, holy crap, the Han Solo movie is going to look amazing. At the same time, I feel like out of all the Star Wars films, the Han Solo film, well, yes, they're going to be him in space a lot. A lot of the Han Solo film could take place on ground, on a planet.
Effects and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So that goes to show maybe the Selma experience and just just a regular world setting.
And A Most Violent Year, which I don't know if you've seen or not.
I haven't seen it.
Captured like 70s New York and whatnot. Really cool style.
Regardless, and now that I'm starting to think about it, even though like Selma's not a spectacle film, it looked really. It looked
like that time era. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, but it looked really good. Like the way like whenever they were outside and the shots and everything. So now that I think about it, yeah, he's a pretty good cinematographer from what I've seen. So we can't really tell much. I think Arrival is going to be the true test, but I think we're going to be satisfied with it, and I'm looking forward to it. This Han Solo movie is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be fun seeing Han Solo back on the screen. Han Solo anyway. So all right, let's kind of wrap up our movie news for the show. We're going to move on to a little bit of Rebels. And I think both of us kind of forgot that it kind of premieres tomorrow.
Yeah,
slipped our mind a little bit, so it's kind of coincidence that we have a topic on it today. But with Rebels premiering tomorrow, they released a new clip focusing on Thrawn and Hera. The clip kind of shows Hera going into disguise as a servant in what I expect is Thrawn's base or the Imperial base. It was released via EW, Entertainment Weekly, and along with the clip, we got a little of a synopsis of Thrawn from Dave Filoni, who's the executive producer of the show, describing Thrawn as, he really stuck out just because through and through an Imperial officer. He was not facing doubt. He didn't have these abilities that make him all big arch villains up to that point arch. He wasn't inept so much like Piet. He wasn't playing politics like the rest of the Imperial officers. He was purely a military strategist. So Jacob, you see the clip. We've been wanting Thrawn for quite a while. Now we get a new look at him besides the trailers. And what do you think about the description as well?
Yeah, I don't know much about the character, to be honest. Even though I'm a huge Star Wars fan, He's
only in the 90s book trilogy, the Thrawn trilogy,
but
Timothy Zahn.
I've heard about him through other Star Wars enthusiasts, like people that I follow online and stuff. And they love him. Like, as far as like Star Wars hardcore fans, he's one of their favorites out there, and there's a reason for that. And I think we've had characters like military characters who are strong, but like they never are prominent characters. Like Grand Moff Tarkin in that first movie, he has a big presence, but like even though he's a well-known character, nobody really talks about him that much. I think Thrawn is someone who can be like, I think who knows if this could lead to maybe a live action appearance in the future one day. And I think he has the potential to be one of the best characters in Star Wars.
I agree.
As far as I know,
I completely
agree. I think
agree.
he has the potential to be one of the best ever Star Wars characters, because there's something special about a character who can have so much of an impact without having special powers, without being a Jedi, without being a Sith. Like, look at Han Solo. He has such... I think the reason why people love him so much and he's everyone's favorite character is because he's so relatable. In that first movie, A New Hope, we are Han Solo in that perspective, because what's the Force? I don't believe in that kind of stuff, Like, he's the regular guy among all these fantastical things going on. So, point being that Thrawn he's not a Sith, he's not a Jedi. He's just a military-minded guy, and that's how he's going to beat you, by outsmarting you. And I think that's what makes him an exciting and potentially amazing character. So,
what do you think about the clip?
So the clip, yeah, it looks good. I mean, he's intimidating. He looks, very authoritative. So yeah, not much to go off of it, but I like the way he looks and the way he sounds.
Yeah, fun fact, he's voiced by Mads Mikkelsen's brother.
Really? Interesting.
Which is kind of a cool Star Wars.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, the clip is cool. It's nothing really too revealing. It does just show that they come face to face at one point, and he's so calm when things happen. That's what makes him so scary, I think, because he can kind of slash at any point. I really love the fact that he learns about his enemies through like their world art and like really studying them instead of just going at them with everything that they have. As far as military purposes go, like he really studies his enemies and figures out what he needs to do to make sure they go down the right way. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Thrawn on screen. I've been wanting him for a long time. Along with the clip and the little description of him, we had a little remix clip with some new footage for Rebels that was released by Disney XD. And there was a little bit of new footage throughout the the 50 seconds or so, but what we're going to talk about is the last 5 seconds. And Jacob caught this. I didn't catch this, but it shows Ezra and Maul going at it, and the screen goes black with Ezra deciding whether or not to strike down Maul. Doesn't show, obviously. There's a little bit of a voiceover in the background from Thrawn, I think. So just quick thoughts on that and maybe where it's going to go. What do you think is going to happen with Ezra at the end of the season? Where do you think Maul is going to be at the end of the season?
So yeah, this clip is all right, but you can't really. There's a lot of new footage, but it's hard to follow because it's all moving so quickly and it just cuts so much.
It's got a remix going on.
You saw my reaction at the end of it. I was like, "Oh man, did you see the end?" Because you got tired of it and turned it off prior to that. But yeah, and it shows Ezra kicking Maul against like some boxes or something, and then he like goes up to him and he's about to strike him down. And I think that's going to have strong implications on the season and Ezra as a character in general, because even though Maul's evil and he's up to no good, killing him will send Ezra further down to the dark side no matter what. So that's going to be a huge moment for him. Does he do it? Does he not? It doesn't look like Kanan's around at all.
That's what I was wondering.
So where's Kanan at? I don't think he's dead or anything. I just think he's not there at the time. But at least we know that we know now for sure that Ezra's going to be faced with that conflict, whether to kill Maul or not. So, man, I don't know. Of course I don't want him to, because I love Darth Maul. I want him to stick around. But I just don't know what it would mean for Ezra. We've seen a lot of anger and rage in him, so that would probably tip him over the edge to the dark side, like a lot of people are expecting him to go. So how did you feel about it?
Yeah, I kind of have the same thoughts, and I think that season 3 for Ezra almost in a way is going to be an extended look at the Darth Vader or the Emperor and Luke in Return of the Jedi when he's trying to manipulate him. And I think it's going to be Maul and Ezra, where Maul is going to be trying manipulating Ezra the entire season as he has the Sith relic. I think that just a little tease of what's to come as far as his powers go, and the kind of look he has in his eye, and even the trailers, they hint at the screen goes dark when Ezra's on screen, and it's like hinting at him going to the dark side. They could be obviously playing an entire trick on us, but I think that like you said, it's going to be a huge test for him. The conflict is going to come to a head, and we're going to figure out where he lies at the end of the season, because Rebels doesn't go on forever. It's going to short time period, and so they got to get through this stuff kind of quickly, and we just don't want to see Ezra be a bad guy for so many episodes and then it ends. Like, we want to see a season full of it, if that actually happens, or 2 seasons of it, because this whole Ghost crew, they're a family now, and seeing Ezra and Kanan go at it eventually, maybe, is a big deal, especially if that has to do with Maul or possibly even Thrawn or Vader, maybe. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities, so getting kind of a tease of it's very, very cool. All right, well, moving on a little bit of Rebels. We're going to finish the show with some comic reviews. Jacob has been able to read Poe Dameron number 1 and number 2. I have not been able to catch up on those yet, so I'm going to hand over the mic to Jacob, and he's going to be able to go over Poe Dameron 1 and 2, give us a little background of them, and then kind of give his thoughts on it without any major spoilers.
So one of the things, Poe Dameron came out being one of the more popular of the new characters from The Force Awakens. I mean, I feel like Daisy Ridley Rey and Finn and Poe came out equally just as popular, which is great for Star Wars going forward if all those characters are beloved, because I think those are our 3 heroes going forward, at least in this trilogy. We'll see where they end up at the end of it. But but even though he was one of the main new characters, there's so much going on. We didn't really get a lot about him.
He took the back seat as far as the 3 good ones.
Oh, definitely, for sure. And he takes an absence for the film for a while. He's not in the whole second
which was
act.
A lot of people didn't like.
Yeah, which I was fine with the way he was handled.
Yeah.
But and I love the character just from the movie.
I agree.
And I wanted to learn more about him. So I've been reading comics a lot lately, and one of the ones that stood out to me was the Poe Dameron, because look, I could go read Han Solo or the Star Wars regular line or the Leia one, and while I would love to extend my knowledge on those characters, I know them already. I know their personality. I know their history, their origin, most of their origin, whatever, I don't know a lot about Poe Dameron. So Thrawn's on your mind still. Poe Dameron. So that's why I got into him. So yeah, I've read the first. It's on like issue 6 or 7 right now, but I've read the first 2 issues, and right off right away you realize this is Poe Dameron. Like
They captured him pretty well.
just like how the Han Solo comic captures Han Solo, this one captures Poe Dameron, and his personality shines throughout it. He's similar to Han Solo, which we saw in The Force Awakens. He's very comedic and he has an attitude, but at the same time he's very serious. And I don't want to give away spoilers, but it's just him and BB-8 at first, and they're kind of on this mission. And they one thing that I learned from this comic is we got a little information on the character Lor San Tekka. So if you remember him, he's in the opening scene from The Force Awakens.
Max von Sydow.
Max von Sydow plays him. He's not in the movie for too long, but he seems like an important character. Like he knows Princess Leia. He knows the Force. He tells Kylo Ren that I've known your family for so long. I've watched you grow up. And you went to the dark side. So this character knows a lot. So we find out a little bit more about him and who he is. And it's not really a spoiler, but he's just a guy who has studied the Force and has studied Jedi. And he supposedly has been to every known Jedi temple in the galaxy.
That's awesome.
It's something that I learned from this comic, which is really cool. And this is the reason why I read these comics, because this stuff is canon. Mm-hmm. It's real history in the Star Wars universe, so I'm expanding my knowledge in general. But yeah, overall, man, there's a character in this. It's the bad guy who's like a military leader for the Empire. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but if you read the comic, you'll know right away. He's the lead general that's kind of antagonizing Poe Dameron in the first two issues, and he is awesome because he works for the Empire, but like most bad guys, he's not necessarily loyal to the Empire. He has his own agenda, and while his paycheck comes from the Empire, he's looking out for himself first, and he doesn't mess around. He really, from where it left off for me, he has Poe Dameron in a really tight corner, and it's just overall cool. If you want to learn more about Poe Dameron in general, you want to get little tidbits about the Force Awakens era of Star Wars and learn a little bit about Lor San Tekka and get introduced to a cool new villain, then I would definitely check out Poe Dameron 1 and 2. I'm going to continue reading the series. I just, time and money gets in the way, but eventually I will pick up the rest of the issues and review them on here. So yeah, it's not my favorite Star Wars comic series or books, but I really like them a lot. And if you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, definitely read them.
That's awesome. Let me ask, when does it take place? Does it say?
So this is taking place, the first two issues, I believe, are taking place before The Force Awakens.
Does it say like how many years?
It's like right before.
Oh, it is right before.
Yeah, okay. It's like, I think he's looking for Lor San Tekka.
Oh, okay.
And he hasn't found him yet. So I think it's on his way to meeting him on Jakku.
Oh, so you see Lor San Tekka by himself?
No, you don't see Lor San Tekka. He's referenced.
Oh, okay.
So Poe Dameron comes across these I don't know what you would call them, maybe villagers. They're this group who's like, they have this like nest thing that they're very sensitive of and they're trying to protect, and it's being threatened, and they're kind of defensive about Poe, like, who are you? But then they become cool with him, and he kind of learns about, through the conversations with Poe and them,
learn
about Lor San Tekka, because Lor San Tekka spent time with these villagers, and he lived with them and built trust with them, and they know him, so they kind of give Poe hints to where he went, but they don't know if they can trust Poe at first, so it's kind of like a back and forth. So through those conversations, you learn about Lor San Tekka. So I believe, I might be mistaken, don't take my word for this, but I believe this is like, if not weeks, a month or something, months before The Force Awakens, when Poe's trying to find Lor San Tekka, where he eventually does find him on Jakku.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, look out for more of those comic reviews. We're trying to keep them as much as possible. Let us know in the comments if you want us to check out anything specific as far as Star Wars go. I don't know if you saw it, Jacob, but they announced that in December there's going to be more ongoing comics released.
Really?
With some new titles and stuff in December.
That's awesome.
So,
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so we'll have some more to review. All right, well, that's going to wrap up the Padawan podcast today. Before we go, I'd like to thank Jacob for joining us and all the topics today, and for the comic reviews and keeping up on them. So let them know where they can find you online.
You can find me online on Twitter at @JacobBartley_, and you can find me on this YouTube channel. We got our movie news podcast, a bunch of other things, and yeah, please subscribe and hit that like button. We truly do appreciate it.
Definitely. You can find me, Jake Berlin, Twitter, Instagram at Qui-Gon Jake, apocalypsemovies.com every day, this YouTube channel. Check out everything we got going on here. I'm trying to do some big things here, and let us know in the comments what you guys think. And until next time, may the force be with you.